All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on a technology that's trying to completely rewire how money moves around the planet. We're talking about XRP and its big mission to make sending money as quick and as cheap as firing off an email.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a question that feels like it belongs in the 90s, right? You can zap a message to literally anywhere in the world instantly for basically nothing. But money? Oh, that gets bogged down in this ancient, clunky, and super expensive system. That's the core problem we're unpacking today.
So, to really get your head around the solution, you first have to understand just how big the problem is. And we're not talking small change here. The world of cross-border payments is absolutely gigantic, and so are the fees that are hiding in plain sight. Check out this number. Over $900 billion. That is the insane amount of money that people, often migrant workers, send across borders to their families back home every single year. These aren't just transactions. For millions of people, this is a literal financial lifeline. And here's the real kicker. On average, 6.4% of that money, it just vanishes. It gets completely eaten up by fees before it ever reaches its destination. That's almost $60 billion a year that could be going to food, to school, to medicine, just gone. So why is it so expensive? Well, it all comes down to this idea of tied-up money. You see, the way it works now, banks have to keep these huge piles of cash sitting in accounts all over the world, just waiting. It's like a small shop needing a separate cash register for every single foreign currency their customers might use. It's wildly inefficient, it freezes up trillions of dollars in capital, and it's the #1 reason everything takes so long and costs so much. But what if you didn't need those piles of cash anymore? What if you could just build a digital bridge to move value from point A to point B, instantly? Well, that's the whole idea here. Let's dig into how it's supposed to work. The concept is actually pretty simple, but it's really powerful. It's called a bridge asset. So instead of trying to trade, say, Japanese yen directly for Philippine pesos, which can be complicated, you use a neutral digital go-between. Both currencies can quickly convert into this bridge asset and then right back out. And XRP was built from day one to be exactly that, a neutral bridge for money. So here's how it looks in the real world. Ripple calls this on-demand liquidity. Let's say you have US dollars and you need to pay someone in Mexico. Instead of that slow, painful journey through a bunch of banks, your dollars are zapped into XRP. That XRP flies across the globe in about 3 seconds, and on the other end, it's immediately zapped back into Mexican pesos. The whole slow, expensive middle part of the journey, it's just gone. Okay, so what does skipping all those steps actually mean? It sounds good, but what are the real, tangible benefits? Let's break down the actual impact this has on speed, cost, and just general access to your money. When you see it laid out like this, side by side, it's honestly kind of shocking. You're going from a settlement time of days to a few seconds. Transaction fees drop from, 10, 20, $50 down to fractions of a penny. And maybe the biggest one, you go from needing all that pre-funded tied-up cash to getting your liquidity exactly when you need it, on demand. And listen, this isn't just theory. It's actually being used. Hundreds of financial companies are on board. We're seeing real-world examples, like SBI Remit in Japan using it for payments to the Philippines, or Onafric using it to connect 27 different countries in Africa for cheaper remittances. The growth is happening exactly where this problem is felt the most. And things have really started to pick up, especially after a huge, long-running lawsuit with the SEC finally wrapped up in mid-2025. Once that legal cloud lifted, it gave a green light to a ton of companies that had been sitting on the fence. And now, the network has live payment corridors that cover a massive chunk of the global remittance market. Okay, but as exciting as all that sounds, this isn't some simple fairy tale of overnight success. Trying to change the fundamentals of global finance, well, it's got its challenges. So it's really important we take a balanced look at where things actually are. And this right here is a really crucial point. You see, while Ripple has over 300 partners using its network, not all of them are actually using XRP as that digital bridge. A lot of them are just using the software, but they're still moving regular old currencies, or maybe stablecoins, specifically because they want to avoid the price swings you can get with a crypto asset. And that really points to the main hurdles it still faces. Critics bring up centralization concerns, because Ripple itself holds a lot of the XRP. There is absolutely fierce competition from other fintechs and stablecoins trying to solve the same problem. That price volatility we just mentioned makes some of the big conservative institutions pretty nervous. And the growth, while it's definitely there, has been more of a steady climb than the explosive revolution some people expected. So, where does all of this leave us? Is this the massive revolution that's going to tear down the entire old system? Or is it something different? Maybe more like a quiet but really important upgrade. This quote from our research really just nails it. The goal seems to have shifted away from replace everything to something way more practical. Find the specific payment corridors where this technology gives you the biggest bang for your buck and make them hyper-efficient. So if there's one thing to take away from this, it's this. The story here is shifting from just hype to actual real-world utility. It's not about taking over the financial world by tomorrow morning. It's about solving a very real, very expensive problem for millions of people in specific places right now. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. As we see these new digital rails making payments faster and cheaper, what other parts of our financial plumbing, the parts built for a totally different era, are next in line for a 21st century upgrade? Thanks for tuning in.
Please subscribe and like.